Hi, and welcome to this week's edition of the Sportscasters. We have two awesome semi-final games that we're going to recap as well as review our
Ryan.
annual... What? I'm in the middle of the intro, dude.
What are you wearing?
I'm wearing the purple and gold of the Lakers.
This is fantasy football coverage.
Well, I've already moved on to fantasy basketball.
That's what you get from a loser. Well, while we wait for Ryan to change, let's go to our theme intro.
Welcome back. Now that I've changed, we'll talk about the matchup between Aaron's Hurricanes and Drew's Workhorses. And this was a hard-fought matchup between two tough teams. But in the end, Aaron was victorious, 124.5 to 107. Leading the way for Aaron was a stellar 23 points from Fred Jackson. That must have made you happy, Aaron.
Yeah, it did. I really wasn't expecting that from Fred Jackson.
But like I said last week, Drew Brees and Jimmy Graham would have a tough time against that Panther defense. And as you can see, they combined for 23 points. Do you feel like they let you down?
A little bit, but I still got the win, so it all worked out in my benefit. But I'm hoping for more next week.
Yeah, just rub that one in, why don't you? Looking on, Zach Stacy scored 21 for the Rams. Do you think that you'll start him this week since they have such a tough matchup?
Zach Stacy is a must start every week. I think he'll be a top player next year, and he's definitely a must start.
Well, hopefully he has the same production this coming week. Now, I did notice that you left 22 points on the bench with Donald Brown. You thinking about making a change there?
Absolutely. Donald Brown next week is going against the Jaguars. That is going to be a great matchup for him.
Already sounds like you're already tasting that championship. For Drew had a very disappointing day. His man, Nick Foles, only scored 17 points. Aaron, does that make you feel a little bit better?
That is. I was really worried about Nick Foles. He's been hot. He's been scoring 20-plus lately. So 17, that's a pretty good number for me.
Yeah, and Des Bryant had 13. Not his breakout performance like you would come to expect. Was he crying over that? Do you think he was?
He might have been at home.
Unfortunately for Drew, his problem was he got the most production from his kicker and his defensive player. That can never be a good thing. Aaron, what do you think about that return to end that game?
Wow, that return was something. I know Drew was getting excited. He was possibly thinking maybe that would be enough points to win, but no, it wasn't.
Do you think he was dancing like Drew Burns does when he gets a point?
He could have been. I got a point. I got a point.
Unfortunately, points were at a premium for Drew, and he left some on the bench. You notice there, Bell for Detroit had 21 points. Now, last week I was talking about how Reggie Bush was going to get the points, but it was Bell. You surprised?
Not really. I think that injury was still lingering around for Reggie Bush like I was hoping it was. I said it would be last week. That slipping in the snow is no joke.
So, unfortunately for Drew, although Bell had 21 points, he was on the bench. So it did Drew
no good.
So that means that Aaron will be moving on to the championship. Now, Aaron, didn't you win last year?
I did.
This could be back-to-back. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But first, we'll go to break, and then we'll come back and review who Aaron will meet in the Fantasy Bowl Championship as we recap the game between the victorious Rhinos and Rob's reign.
Don't go anywhere.
Dude, this place is so boring.
Why don't we jazz it up a little bit?
But what can you do?
How about a flathead?
Now that's a good idea. This is even worse. There we go. Perfect.
So my two Aaron Johnson Flatheads will be in Tuesday. All right, thanks. Yeah, that's good because he's a hottie. All right, thanks. Bye. Oh, sorry. This week we'll be covering the Victorious Rhinos versus Rob's Reign. The Victorious Rhinos were stomped, 141 to 122. Looking at the quarterbacks, Ryan had Matthew Stafford, who only scored 4 points, versus Peyton Manning's 44 points.
I told you those gloves are heated.
They must be because he just blew you out of the water in that matchup.
Thanks. Just kick a guy when he's down.
Well, next, looking at the receivers, Andre Johnson only 7 points versus Pierre Garçon's 26 points. Again, not even close. How was that trade working out for you?
Well, I don't know. Although Alfred Morris did good, I gave up LaShawn McCoy for him and Andre Johnson, and I don't know. I'm thinking I probably should have kept him.
Yeah, LaShawn McCoy might go number 1 next year. We'll just have to wait and see. Next, looking at Jamal Charles, JC, versus AP. Ryan, you actually won this matchup.
Yeah, but, when Jamal Charles scored on that very first drive, I thought, 57, here we come again. And then that was it.
Yeah, he only got you 26. That's a pretty good number, but it wasn't enough. Next, Jason Witten, 1 point to Cumberland, 3 points. Could you have done anything better at the tight end position?
Oh, I could have done a whole lot of things better in every position. I mean, I had Tony Gonzalez. I thought 49ers, Falcons, Tony's not going to do anything. Jason Witten against the Redskins, oh, he's going to light it up. And it was completely wrong.
That's not nice.
The Redskins did a good job, though. I mean, I have to admit, the Redskins did a good job. If you watch the tape, everywhere Witten went, he was double-teamed. So the Redskins made sure he wasn't going to be the guy to beat them. I should have started Gonzalez.
Yeah, Gonzalez had 12 points on the bench. That's 1. Next, Demaryius Thomas, 24 points to Danny Woodhead, 6 points. Again, you won another matchup here.
Yeah, but I needed more from him too, especially since Rob had Peyton Manning. I was hoping he would throw every touchdown to Demaryius Thomas.
You would hope.
Yeah, it didn't come true.
Then we had Dwayne Bowe, only 4 points to Steven Jackson, 11 points. Have you thought about maybe you should have started Nate Washington at that position?
Thought about it. I regretted it. What did I tell you last week? Dwayne Bowe has been a big disappointment. Now he's not even going to play this week because he has a concussion. How can you get a concussion when you don't ever catch the ball?
I'm not sure, but does it really matter that he's not playing this week?
No, because he doesn't do me any good.
Yeah, and yours just a consolation game anyway, so.
But when you look at this, I mean, I should have beat Rob. What did I say last week? I'm more concerned about my team than his team.
Right.
And if I had started Andy Dalton on the bench, if I had started Tony Gonzalez on the bench, if I had started Nate Washington on the bench, I would have been the one who stomped Rob.
Well, what do you think that did you?
No good.
Well, next.
Thanks a lot for rubbing it in, by the way, once again.
Oh, that's what I do. We had an even tie with Golden Tate versus Baltimore's Jacoby Jones, 5 points. Then we had the kickers 16 to 14, the defense 14 to 11, and the defensive players 7 to 15. So really, it was a pretty even matchup except for one area. That was the quarterback. So I really do believe in this league a quarterback is a high value player. But I do have one question for you, Ryan. What is the difference between the Victorious Rhinos and Tony Romo?
Nothing. They're both losers.
You got it. Neither one can bring home a championship. So after this break, we'll be back with a preview of next week's matchup.
Help! I need somebody. Help! Not just anybody. Help! You know I need someone. Help! When I was younger, so much younger.
Welcome back. So the Fantasy Bowl Championship has been set. It will be the Hurricanes of Aaron versus Rob's Reign.
We're getting breaking news, Ryan. We have some live trash talk going on. Let's go over to our street reporter, Oscar. Over to you.
Oh, I love trash. Anything dirty or dingy or dusty.
Thanks for that stinking update, Oscar. Now let's talk about our Fantasy Bowl Championship, pitting Aaron's Hurricanes against Rob's Reign. Aaron, do you think you can pull it out, or will Rob reign victorious?
You never know. I'm hoping that I will be able to pull it out, get the 2 trophies in a row. Keep it. Don't have to turn it over.
Yeah, just keep rubbing it in, why don't you? Of course, it's about the big-name quarterbacks, Drew Brees versus Peyton Manning. Do you think Drew will have a bounce-back week, considering he had a subpar performance last week?
I'm hoping he will, but I don't think that he'll win the matchup between Brees and Manning. I think Manning will probably have maybe a slightly better game, but I think the depth of my team will be able to help me.
That's interesting that you should say that. What about Jimmy Graham?
Well, also with Drew Brees, they're going to be, I think, at home this week, so they play a little bit better at home. They're more comfortable in the dome, so I'm thinking that will really help me out this week.
Mm-hmm. Now, you've already mentioned that you're counting on Zach Stacy to come through for you this week again, but looking at the rest of your lineup, do you think that Noshawn Marino is going to have a bigger impact than he did with the Denver running game?
I'm hoping he will this week. I'm not sure off the top of my head what his matchup is, but I'm hoping he will have a better game this week.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's not against the Chiefs, so if he plays the Chargers or the Raiders, I mean, he's going to be in for a pretty big day, hopefully. Now, do you think he can match what Demaryius Thomas did last week for me?
It's possible. That was a high score that Demaryius Thomas had, so I'm not exactly counting on that much, but I'm thinking he will have a good game.
Looking at Rob's team, he's obviously going to need a big game from Adrian Peterson. I know he drafted him high, so he's going to ride him to a victory. But is there anybody else on that team that scares you? Because I'm looking at his team, and I really don't. I mean, I know he beat me. But...
Maybe Patrick Willis.
Is he going to score 3 touchdowns?
Well, Navarro Bowman did get 1, so those two kind of been going at it all year. So maybe Patrick Willis is looking to outdo Navarro Bowman this week.
Now he starts Danny Woodhead, Steven Jackson, Greg Jennings. Not really big names. And that's what I've seen with Rob's team all year is he doesn't have the big names that jump out at you in his lineup, but he seems to win. Mm-hmm. I don't know how he does it. Do you?
1 word. 2 words. Peyton Manning.
I can't argue with that. Peyton Manning it is. In fact, Peyton Manning, Sportsman of the Year. Do you think he will be Sportsman of the Year for our fantasy league?
Probably. I didn't know we had that, so.
We don't.
Okay, so sure.
But if we did, Peyton Manning would be Sportsman of the Year. So this week we have Rob's Reign versus Aaron's Hurricanes. Will Aaron hoist the trophy once again? Will there be champagne and confetti in the locker room? For Aaron or for Rob? I know talking to Rob's excited. Rob rubbed it in on me pretty hard Wednesday night. I deserved it. But will Rob be able to do the same thing to Aaron? We'll have to wait and find out. Now, the nice thing is with the consolation games, there's still plenty of matchups for all of us to enjoy. So although you may not be in the Fantasy Bowl Championship, you may be matched up against your arch enemy throughout the year. Will you get one more victory against them? Aaron, you were in the same division as Rob. How did that go for you this year?
Rob has been my most feared nemesis. Rob. We have been going at it for 2 years now. Last year, he beat me once. We tied once. Then he beat me again this year. And finally, the last game of the season, I was able to beat him. And I'm very happy about that. So hopefully, I'll get my win over him again. And shut this case down.
Well, we'll just have to wait and see this weekend, won't we? Now, just so that everyone knows, the trophy presentation will be January 12th here at Aaron's house. I sent everyone an invitation. We hope you can make it. The whole family is invited so we can get together and have a good time presenting the trophy to our champion. If you have any questions, feel free to call me or email me. Well, that'll do it for this week's edition of the Sportscasters. For Aaron, I'm Ryan. And friends, remember,
It's not delivery, it's DiGiorno.
thank you for that stinky update, Oscar.
Sorry.
Thank you for that stinky update, Oscar.
I don't know why that makes me laugh.
I'm wearing the purple and gold of the Lakers. Thanks for that stinking update, Oscar. Now,
You had to change it from stinky to stankin', didn't you?
I didn't even say anything.
I'm gonna have to step out of this scene.